Monday, October 7, 2013, Nigeria's President, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, inaugurated the Presidential Advisory Committee for National Dialogue to fashion out, he says, the process for organizing a national conversation on the future of a marriage of ethnic nationalities that made up the North and South Protectorates in 1914 by Lord Frederick Lugard, and the avalanche of reactions that trailed that support for a non-sovereign national conference, especially with the presidential elections 15 months away, elicited so many varied reactions, from cynicism to suspicion, from support to pessimism, prompting one to say that as far as this national conference is concerned, this administration is damned if the conference holds and damned if it does not. Well, hello and welcome. This is 60 Minutes with me, Angela Jetumobi. Thank you for joining me on the program today. Now, at that inauguration, the president says, I'm quoting him now, "Let me emphasize that this is a national project, a sincere and fundamental undertaking aimed at realistically examining and genuinely resolving long-standing impediments to our cohesion and harmonious development as a truly united nation." End of quote. He says he was one of those who exhibited skepticism on the need for another conference, that skepticism born out of the nomenclature of such a conference, taking into cognizance existing democratic structures that were products of the will of the people. And that's where my host today comes in. He's a legal practitioner with a master's degree in law from the University of Lagos, which he obtained in 1988. He's a chieftain of the Afenifere Renewal Group, ARG, and he ran as a member of the Action Congress of Nigeria to represent Ogun East Senatorial District. He was also a delegate to a conference organized by the Pro-National Conference Organization, PRONACO, an organization led by the late Chief Anthony Enahoro, Professor Wole Soyinka, and Professor Jadisola Akonde, among others. He says that this president is occupying a very important and most powerful office. He should use the instrumentality of that office to lay a solid political, economic, and social foundation for Nigeria, end of quote. And he says we should all give Dr. Goodluck Jonathan the benefit of the doubt. So join me after the break as I count down 60 minutes with Bisi Adegbuyi, a chieftain of the ARG and a legal practitioner. Welcome back. Welcome, Mr. Adegbuyi. Thank you very much for coming on the program
Thank
today.
you. It's my pleasure. Nice to be here.
Well, in my introduction, I was saying, you were a delegate to a conference organized by the Pro-National Conference Organization that has actually been calling for such a dialogue as this.
Well, at that material time,
Yes.
when it was dangerous to go against what the government of the day wanted.
Yes.
Remember, former President Olusegun Obasanjo organized a political reforms conference, so to say, in Abuja,
Yes.
ostensibly to take the wind out of the sail of our conference in Lagos, organized by PRONACO, Pro-National Conference Organization.
Yes.
Ably led, jointly though, by the late Chief Anthony Enahoro, Professor Wole Soyinka, again, another late person,
Yes.
Dr. Belkora Kuti, again, another late person, Professor Jadisola Akonde, again, another late person, Baba Omojola.
So all these people have been calling for a conference. It's not a new thing.
Just to be honest with you,
Yes.
even before ours, the person that actually started the agitation for a convocation of a sovereign national conference
Yes.
was also the late legal icon, Alao Akabasharon. He and others tried to organize a conference at the National Theatre.
Yes.
But the military dictator at that material time, General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, IBB, ensured that the might of the state, the instruments of oppression and coercion, were rolled out to truncate that effort.
Yes.
So it's been on for a long time. We just thought that rather than continue to ask government to organize a national conference, why shouldn't, on our own volition, so much to organize it? And we decided we would have one.
Yes.
And we had one. People's National Conference. It held for more than a year in Grandview, Magodo, which culminated in the production of a draft constitution. Indeed, it may interest you to know that the late Baba Omojola breathed his last after having submitted a memo on behalf of PRONACO to the now defunct Presidential Advisory Committee on National Dialogue at the maiden interactive session held in Akure in Ondo State.
Right. And that's this President Jonathan's advisory committee.
Oh, yes. Oh,
okay,
yes.
so PRONACO still exists?
Yes, it still exists. Our remit at the initial stage was to produce a people's constitution, draft constitution, which we succeeded in doing.
Yes.
And then some of us thought that that shouldn't be the end of it all. It would not make sense, for want of better expression, to produce a draft constitution without embarking on efforts to ensure that the draft constitution becomes the ground norm. So advocacy to get the draft constitution effected started, and that's why we're still on. Again, if you want to know, the preponderance of memoranda submitted to the Presidential Advisory Committee, they have all adopted one way or the other what PRONACO draft constitution is all about. The fundamental difference is that whilst we recommend that Nigeria should be a federal republic based on sound principles of federalism and hinged or predicated on 18 federating regions or units, as the case may be. Some other organizations like Ohaneze, State Government of Osun, and a host of others, and even my group, Afenife Renewal Group, are of the opinion that it should be 6 federating units.
How did you come about 18? I'm just thinking, I mean, in the days of Yakubu Gowon, we had 12 states.
12 states.
How did you...
Arbitrarily created without consultation.
Right.
The difference is that we contracted the services of sociologists, people who knew and still know Nigeria inside out.
Right.
I mean, I'm yet to come across anybody who had profound knowledge of the ethnic configuration of Nigeria than Chief Anthony Enahoro. And may I say this, his engine room remains Chief Alfred Ilenre. The man is still alive. He knows Nigeria inside out. And we also invited representatives of ethnic nationalities who assisted us in identifying so many ethnic groups
that we didn't know existed.
Yes, that constitutes Nigeria. About 250 to 300 of such. The error is that people think Nigeria is just made up of Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba, and maybe other popular ethnic groups, Ijo, Ibibios, Efiks, Ishekiri. But there are several others, particularly in the north-central, north-east, south. And you need people who know Nigeria inside out, who had conducted studies at one time or the other, to be able to know, well, how we are constituted in Nigeria, socially, politically, ethnically, culturally, and even on linguistic basis. These are parameters. These are conditions precedents that we must take into cognizance if we want to bring about an autochthonous constitution, a constitution that we can say this is our own.
Yes.
It is a product of our efforts.
If I get you right, the essence of this conversation, is it just to fashion out a constitution that we can say, indeed, we Nigerians came together to say this is what we want? Is that the whole essence of this dialogue?
Dialogue as envisioned or organized or will be organized by President Jonathan,
yes,
or sovereign national conference that we have long agitated for.
Yes.
We have to disambiguate.
Okay, and I'm happy you're a lawyer. The use of the word sovereign, for instance, you know, a lot of people are against it, including, I mean, the Senate President David Mark says that is a no-go area. Don't even use the word sovereign, because there is indeed a sovereign government in place.
You see, the misunderstanding of the word sovereign,
yes,
stems from the fact that some people's idea of sovereignty is archaic, still, and cannot operate
yes,
in a democratic society. And let me explain.
Right.
In times of old, when you had dictators whose words were laws, they were the sovereigns, they were the state, they represented the states.
No matter how obnoxious.
Obnoxious.
Yes.
His words were law. He could wake up on the wrong side of the bed and order somebody to be killed.
Yes.
And nothing would happen. At that material time, sovereignty resided in such a brutal or even benevolent dictator, provided that nobody was superior to him.
Yes.
Now, if my prognosis is correct, it would be wrong to say a democratically elected government is a sovereign, whereas a dictator at that time had no term limit. He reigned in perpetuity.
Yes.
But a democratically elected government has a term limit. At best, 8 years.
Yes.
4 years first time, renewable if you have done well in the office,
Yes.
for another 4 years.
Yes.
So it will be wrong to say that there's a sovereign government in place in Nigeria today. No. What they have, at best, at most, is a limited mandate. And indeed, by virtue of Section 14, subsection 2,
yes,
it is clearly stated in the Constitution that has given life to this Senate, House of Reps, this presidency, that sovereignty resides with the people. And all institutions, governments, hold their office
at the
by
pleasure.
virtue of this Constitution and at the pleasure of the people. Now, if a Constitution has provided so clearly, will it not amount to a contradiction in terms to say that you are a sovereign or that a sovereignty is in place?
Yes.
It is an exaggeration of your power, limited, defined, constituted by 1999 Constitution to say you are a sovereign. No. The Nigerian people are the sovereigns, and the National Assembly, the presidency, the judiciary will do well not to compete with Nigerian people as far as sovereignty is concerned, because if Nigerian people decide to take to the streets today and they want to bring down a government by what we call popular revolts,
yes,
you will kill as many people as you want, but you will go. We have seen that in some other jurisdiction, Arab Spring, what have you. Some people may tell you that that cannot happen in Nigeria. Well, let them, they are entitled to their own opinion,
yes,
and to their own comfort and wishful thinking. But the fact that in 2015, the Nigerian people will be called upon,
yes,
to come and exercise their mandate, franchise, to vote you out or return you to the office, simply means unequivocally, unhesitatingly, conclusively,
yes,
that the Nigerian people are the sovereigns, and therefore sovereignty resides and inheres in them.
I just want to read to you what the former House of Reps Speaker, Bello Masari, says, and I'm quoting him now. "I feel this government has just embarked on another money-wasting conference that will not achieve anything, end of quote. Does that mean because some people think he's distracting us, should that prevent us from talking?
Let's look at it this way.
Yes.
The chief protagonists of National Conference now,
yes,
a latter-day convert, President Jonathan. I don't have any problem with anybody changing his mind, his position in the light of prevailing circumstances. Indeed, some people will say that it is one of the attributes of a good leader to change his mind in the light of prevailing circumstances.
Yes.
Now, and you can't also justifiably condemn the people who are cynical.
Yes.
Because they say morning shows the day. If you look at the circumstances, towards the end of the term of a president, whose popularity is evidently declining. Some people are saying that he wants to show up his popularity by organizing, or by saying he wants to organize a national conference.
And what's wrong with
what
that?
Is wrong in
deft political
Yes,
people.
What is wrong in that? But a school of thought believes that organizing a national conference,
yes,
whether sovereign or otherwise,
yes,
it's a very serious nation-building exercise that should not be imbued or be predicated on any deft political consideration. That you must be a statesman who is concerned about the future of your country,
yes,
rather than the fortune of your political party. There are weighty arguments on both sides of the divide, I must let you know. As I'm talking to you, I'm wearing 3 shoes, if it is possible to do that. One, I'm a chieftain of All Progressives Congress. And I'm very, very proud. You can see my brooch.
Yes.
I'm very, very proud to be part of the agency that will change the political, that we have now. Secondly, I'm also a chieftain of Afenifere Renewal Group, evidently one of the groups that have been agitating for convocation of a national conference. And again, pro-NACO. It's a function of which shoe am I wearing as I'm discussing with you. As far as my party is concerned, All Progressive Congress,
yes,
they are not saying that they are opposed to convocation of a national conference.
Yes.
My party is saying that, one, if you must convoke a national conference, it must be sovereign. Two, decisions reached at such a conference must not be transmuted to National Assembly for inclusion or to form part of the process of constitutional amendment.
Yes.
And that argument is sound, logical, and infallible. And on that note, I'm one with my political party. If President Jonathan intends on collecting or transmuting the decision of his conference, resolutions therefrom, to National Assembly to form part of the process of constitutional amendment, then I'm opposed to it. But if his conference is a conference of ethnic nationalities, and resolutions therefrom would be part of a document that will be subjected to the people, Nigerian people, as I said earlier on, custodian of sovereignty, for a referendum, for their imprimatur to be affixed to it, they are now supporting. Get me clear. You can't fault my party's position. Some people are saying that, why are you trying to organize a conference at the twilight of your administration? That 2015 elections are around the corner. Why do you want to organize a conference that is likely to eat into the timetable of the 2015 general elections?
Yeah.
And some are saying that we don't even have to go into elections anyway, because what we have on our hand, vicious contest between the north and south of Nigeria, for that raw, absolute, overwhelming power in Abuja, is a recipe for disintegration. So, on both sides, there are witty issues. As far as I'm concerned, my take is that we can kill 2 birds with a stone. let us support the conference, seize the momentum, because Nigerian people have the power to take over the process from President Jonathan and defeat whatever hidden agenda, if any.
If any.
If any he has. Then secondly, as you know, I'm an unrepentant, unapologetic adherent and follower of my late hero, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, who advised us. In fact, it was an exhortation that don't boycott anything that the government is trying to put in place. If you do, people
at your own peril.
At your own peril, people who will not protect your interests, who will purport or who will claim to speak on behalf of your own people, will attend the conference. And then decision reached at such a conference will be binding on you. And I believe some of us who claim to be always should have a rethink and then adhere very strictly with the advice of Chief Obafemi Awolowo. Again, I will also say that let us kill two birds with a stone. Support the conference, get your people to go to that conference so that it will not be elongated. Because it is possible. When you have a president that is very powerful, who wants to embark on political shenanigans and contrivance, you could sponsor some delegates from all parts of Nigeria, go there, elongate it, cause trouble so that the conference will be long-winded, ad infinitum, and therefore disrupt the 2015 elections.
All right, we'll take our first break now. So join us again after the break.
Who knows abi better thing? Abi who no like better thing? All these fine things wey dey see so. Na money government dey take do am now. Abi, as in, it's like, I mean, excuse me, I dey pay my tax. I dey do wetin? I dey pay my tax. Say you don't pay your own tax. Have you pay your tax?
Pay your tax. It's your civic responsibility. It's your duty. It's the law.
Welcome back. If you've just joined us, it's 60 Minutes with me, Angela Ajitumobi. On my hot seat today, Bisi Adegbuyi. From what you're saying, I detect a deep cynicism, and I'm just thinking, yet if this president doesn't organize this conference, some people will still think that he was shirking in his responsibility to do so.
I do agree with you.
Yes.
But as much, whether one is cynical or not, I mean, I've been quoted to have publicly supported the conference. I found myself in a quandary, to be honest with you, that somebody whose antecedent is, let's organize a conference. It got to a stage that I wouldn't even mind anymore whether it will be sovereign or not.
As long as we're talking.
As long as we're talking,
yes.
And that decisions reached at such a conference would be subjected to a referendum. Now, a window of opportunity came that somebody who never believed in it. I was at a meeting, a private meeting, and I must say this,
yes,
in Dodan Barracks, run up to 2011 elections with President Goodluck Jonathan. I was a member of the Afenifere Renewal Group that met him, and he said it pointedly that we had gone beyond national conference, and we took him on. Now, no, there's no way Nigeria will make progress without the convocation of a conference.
If you were in Jordan Barracks at a meeting with President Jonathan where he says, we've gone beyond national conference, flash to 2 years later, he's changed his mind, he's accepted your arguments that we can never go beyond that. Why are you still so cynical?
I'm not cynical, but I have reservations.
Yes.
Reservations that if your conference would not lead to a brand new constitution,
okay,
count me out.
You are an advocate for a brand new
constitution that will be brought to life by representatives of ethnic nationalities, because they are the owners of Nigeria. In 1914, when the amalgamation of the northern and southern protectorates took place,
yes,
it was the nationalities that were cobbled together without their consent. There were no political parties.
At that time.
At that material time.
Yes.
Okay? And that's why I'm saying that, in my view, this conference should be a conference of delegates freely chosen, either by election or by nomination, by ethnic nationality groups. Now, the Presidential Advisory Committee has submitted this report.
Yes.
We have seen the report serialized in some of the national newspapers.
Yes.
As far as I'm concerned, that is not official. But let us assume that that is the official. That's
report.
official. Then there's a danger.
Why?
The danger is that they have recommended that the president can back up his conference legally by invoking Section 5 of the Constitution.
What does Section 5 of the
Executive powers of the president, stricto sensu. With due respect to them, I don't see how you can derive legal backing for the proposed conference.
Explain
from
that
Section
to people
5.
who don't have a legal mind. When you say he will give it legal backing by executive...
What it means is this.
Yes.
The president of Nigeria should not be seen to be doing anything that is not legally grounded,
yes,
or that does not have any legal backing. And that's why I'm with Chief Solomon Asemota,
yes,
who incidentally was also part of the PRONACO effort, that the president should forward an executive bill to the National Assembly for it to give it legal backing. That is the role that the National Assembly should play in bringing to life the proposed national dialogue.
right.
Because if there's no legal backing, somebody will just go to court and challenge it, and the court will declare the whole process null and void.
Okay. The legal way to bring the resolutions of that conference, bring them into law, is by the president going by way of executive bill.
That's what we call pre-conference formalities.
Right.
The enabling law is number one. Let the National Assembly pass a law that will give President Jonathan the necessary legal teeth and legal foundation,
yes,
for it to convoke a national conference, because you are going to fund it anyway.
That
So
must be appropriate.
it must be appropriated. If you do it contrary to that, then you'll be committing an act of illegality, an impeachable offense, as the case may be. The Presidential Advisory Committee did not say anything regarding referendum. Again, if you are not going to subject the resolutions passed at such a conference and codified into a draft constitution, which will be taken to Nigerian people to say yes or no to it, then I'm not going to be part of that conference. Then you won't have my support. If indeed Mr. President is genuinely interested in convoking a national conference, why don't you just do it properly?
Where you think is proper.
Wait, yes, give it legal backing. It must lead to a brand new constitution. That brand new constitution, draft constitution, will be taken to Nigerian people for a referendum. And it does appear that that is not the route they are going. It is now appearing that, oh, maybe the reservations expressed by the leader of my party, Senator Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu,
When you called it a Greek
gift,
an act of public deception,
yes,
ill-timed, too close to the...
Maybe it's right after all. If I were to be President Jonathan,
yes,
I would just ensure that this conference will have the attributes of, one, draft constitution that will be taken to Nigerian people
by
for
referendum.
a referendum. And then you would have fulfilled all righteousness, as they say.
Do you think we should be postponing this because, as you say, we're in 2014 already and the elections are around the corner? By May 29, 2015, a new term will start.
If you ask me as a politician,
yes,
politicians are interested in the fortune of their political party.
yes,
I would say we should have elections first. Because this is the first time in recent history that the incumbent government has lost so much popularity. And then this is the first time that the opposition has coalesced under one umbrella and strong members of the ruling party are jumping ship and pitching their tent with the opposition. And naturally, an opposition party will want election to hold so that it can benefit therefrom.
The jury is still out on whether or not the APC can get its act right. A lot of people think too many egos are converging in there. For instance, how will those coming in displace those already well rooted there? You know, taking Kwara State as an example now, my good friend Dede Belgore, you know, how will his needs be accommodated there now that you've got the PDP from Kwara in there, and you know, a strong PDP from Kwara State in there? How will Belgore be accommodated?
As you know, politics in Nigeria is about interests. If it were to be the public interest, it's a different thing altogether. I don't want to be magisterial regarding who should control which structures. One thing I know is that unlike the alliances of the past, when political parties could run back for cover and take cover or shelter under their old political party, which was still in existence, this is impossible because you cannot run to anywhere apart from PDP. I'll explain. ACN is dead. As far as law is concerned. AMPP, dead. CPC, dead. So if you disagree with APC or what is going on there, you got to remain there and fight it out because you don't have any other place to go.
Except PDP.
Except PDP. That's the difference. If what we set out to do is to get PDP out of power and then introduce a new template of governance, a new thinking, a new order, a new philosophy, then we should relegate personal interest and allow national interest to prevail.
And that's another point of contention, getting the PDP out of power. The number of times that I've been told that all the APC is interested in is getting into power. What you will do with the power when you get there, you guys still don't know.
No, I don't agree with that. I mean, come on. APC publicly presented its manifesto. How can anybody say that what they want to do when they get to power, people don't know? That's incorrect. The truth of the matter is that you need to get power first before you can do anything anyway. But it will be wrong to get power and start thinking about and of what you want to do when you get to power. One of the things that attracts me and why I'm a member of APC is that they believe uncompromisingly in enshrining the principles of true federalism into the Nigerian polity. If PDP decides to do that tomorrow,
they will be very popular.
They will be very popular because, to be honest with you, the major problem of Nigeria is that the Nigerian state as presently configured is unwieldy, is bunglesome, is ungainly, and can take us to nowhere. And that's why 14, 15 years down the line, we're still grappling with 4,000 megawatts of electricity. It is because the center is by far too strong. I read a piece in New York Times wherein the governance in Lagos has been praised that perhaps that is the trajectory, that is the route that Nigeria should take. Allow cities to be autonomous, give them more resources so that they will do what Lagos is doing. And if you have that replicated in so many cities, then life will become meaningful to Nigerian people.
All right, so join us again after the break.
Government wants our city to become a mega modern city. And so, government is providing modern markets for us to carry out our business. Now, this requires money. So, we need to pay our taxes to help government to help us. I pay my taxes. I hope you've paid yours. Pay your tax. It's your civic responsibility. It's your duty. It's the law.
Welcome back. My concluding moments now with Bisi Adegbuyi. The truth is, anyone who benefits from a system and gets into office by a system, which even though we all think is faulty, do you think they'll be willing to change that formula, having benefited by it and from it?
If they refuse to change that formula,
yes,
the formula of having 68 items in the exclusive list, then that government will fail. In a multi-ethnic society, multilingual society, the best form of constitution, or the best constitution, is to have a federal constitution.
yes.
The 1999 constitution is not federal. In content, it is unitary, but pretending to be federal in form. So, I don't have any scintilla of doubt that if my party, All Progressives Congress,
Yes.
gets to the center, as we will get in 2015, we will have to devolve powers to geopolitical zones, to states,
And
as the case
how
may be.
will we hold you to that? If you guys get there, if you guys get there and you change your mind.
Very well. That's one of the nuances of democracy. Wait for another 4 years and vote them out because you have not lived up to your promise. That's why democracy is the best form of government. Expanda defines it as the best form of government that allows people to behave stupidly. It is behaving stupidly by believing a political party who says, when I get there, I will do this. Without anything more to it, you have voted them in. But you also go to the polls after 4 years to behave stupidly, either to vote them in or vote them out. And that's the beauty of democracy, yes, that we're losing sight of in Nigeria because we are here to have democracy. At best, we have civil rule. Because you cannot have a democracy wherein a commissioner of police would challenge the incumbent governor of a state who is supposed to be the chief security officer of the state. You cannot have democracy where votes don't count. You cannot have democracy where institutions are very weak. You cannot have democracy where it has failed abysmally to put food on the table of the people.
Yeah.
Democracy is not an abstract concept. It is a system of government that allows the greatest good to be made available to the greatest number of our people. Anytime democracy fails and or neglects to do that, it ceases to be democracy, at best a pseudo-democracy. And that's what we have in Nigeria, with due respect.
We know that the Senator Okuomu panel, 13 members, they submitted a report to the president. And then one of the members, Solomon Asemota, a senior advocate of Nigeria, says that he has written a minority report. And there have been arguments back and forth that there was unanimity with the 13 members. There was no need for a minority report. And my first question is, when you have a gathering of 13 people like that who have been all around Nigeria, is it wrong for them to have a minority report? Can everyone agree on everything?
Generally speaking, no. There's nothing wrong in having a minority report.
Yes.
But the question to ask in the light of prevailing circumstances,
yes,
is there a minority report?
Well, Mr. Asemota says he's written one.
Properly so called. As far as the government is concerned, there is no minority report. I've read a letter purportedly written to the president by Mr. Solomon Asemota, senior advocate of Nigeria.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody I've got tremendous respect for. We're together in Pronaco. And my senior in the legal profession.
Yes.
If I were him, having a minority report, and majority insisting that I would not be allowed to present my minority report, then I would not sit down with them in presenting that report.
Majority one to the president.
To the president.
He shouldn't have attended?
If I were him. That would have sent a strong signal that something is wrong. And then we'll explain to Nigerian people that these people won't allow me to present my minority report.
So instead of 13 of them to have gone, he should have dropped out, and then the president will at least ask where's the 13?
Where is Ms. So?
Yes.
And we'll explain that, look, these people who claim to be Democrats are indeed not Democrats. What is wrong in having a minority report 13-1?
Yes.
And then allow majority to have their way and minority to have its say? Yes. That's, in my view, has been mismanaged, with due respect.
Tony Uranta was saying that, and I'm quoting Tony now, it is a lie that Goodluck Jonathan refused to receive a much touted phantom minority report when the committee submitted. No other report was offered to the president. And so how can you refuse or reject something you were not offered, or you were never offered?
I do not think it is right to refer to the purported minority report as phantom. That's unfair.
Right.
Yeah, we know there's law as it is, positive law.
Yes.
And law as it ought to be, natural law.
Yes.
Yes, no minority report was presented to Mr. President. But you also, don't forget, the secretary to the government was quoted to have said that he ensured that no minority report was presented. Ensured in quotes. What is the definition of ensured? It includes but not limited to, in my view, convincing or persuading the author of the minority report, come on, don't rock the boat, don't present. Or using the state resources and power,
executive authority
to ensure that, look, Aso Rock, I've been there once. If you want to express dissenting opinion, don't bother to go there, because you won't be allowed. Because they won't even recognize you.
What do you mean by that?
It's a place where you cannot oppose the government of the day. You have entered there.
Why, you know, are there no
they won't even recognize you. Is it not when you raise up your hand, you want to speak, and you are called upon to speak, that's when you can take the floor? But if you raise up your hand and you are ignored, what do? You would disrupt events. That's why I'm saying that if I were to be Solomon Asemota, senior advocate, I would not attend that presentation ceremony when I've been denied my right to present a minority report. That's my view.
Yes.
I may be wrong, and I stand to be corrected.
Do you think it takes away value from the majority report?
It doesn't. It doesn't. What it does is to give the president the benefit of second opinion regarding what you want to do. And in any case, the box stops on your table to accept the minority report or treat it with utmost disdain. It doesn't take anything away from your power. You are the executive president, you have awesome power. In any case, you set up the Presidential Advisory Committee. So if you want to go with the majority report, all you have to do is ignore the minority report. I think they have mismanaged it, if indeed they disallowed him from presenting a minority report.
Yes.
It then calls to question the democratic credentials of some of our leaders.
Because the idea that there is a minority report and there is a denial that there is such, now is raising question of teleguiding. People are now really worried that is something being teleguided here, and was Mr. Asemota trying to put a spanner in the works, so to speak?
He agreed with the majority regarding mode of representation, either senatorial and whatever.
Yes.
But he's saying that rather than, and I support him, rather than advise Mr. President to invoke his powers under Section 5 to give legal backing to the conference, as opposed to Solomon Asemota's well-considered legal opinion that an executive bill should be sent to National Assembly. I'm biased. One, I'm a lawyer like Chief Solomon Asemota, 2, who are part of the same PRONACO advocacy. 3, I believe what is being touted to be his minority report is well thought out, in my view, and much more acceptable to me, and I believe majority of Nigerian people.
Yeah.
Because if the preponderance of memoranda that were submitted to that Presidential Advisory Committee are anything to go by, I do not see where and how anybody will run away from, 1, ensuring that there's legal backing for the conference, 2, ensuring that the draft constitution should be subjected to a referendum. If when President releases officially the report of the Presidential Advisory Committee, and that report is to the effect that whatever they do at the national conference should form part of the ongoing effort at constitutional amendment, then it is dead on arrival and will not serve any useful purpose.
So it's either referendum or nothing.
Why are you afraid of going back to Nigerian people who put you in office to know whether they will say yes or no to what they have decided at a conference where the representatives of the people have taken the decision? I mean, in other jurisdictions, I mean, why is Nigeria, why are we behaving like this? Ethiopia, Republic of Benin, several places where they have had their constitution or national conference. You must take decisions reached at that conference back to the people for their final imprimatur, which will confer to it the much needed legitimacy. And then we can then say, we the Nigerian people, indeed, instead of this lie that the preamble to 1999 constitution is telling against itself. My view is that let's do this thing properly. I mean, I agree with the committee. You can have the conference minimum of 3 months, maximum of 6 months, and thereafter go for elections. If indeed we are serious, we are prepared to forge an harmonious union within Nigeria. And then let me quickly say this. When people say Nigeria is indivisible, indissoluble.
I was going to go there because the Senate president, in saying, giving his own 2 areas, he says 2 no-go areas. He doesn't want the sovereign tag, and there must be no discussion about the dismemberment of Nigeria. And I thought, why not? If some people decide that we don't want to be a part of Nigeria, do you want to force them?
I can say this to you. It's a relic of and a throwback to our ugly past.
Yes.
When people say that there must be no-go area. Indeed, states, nations are always products of intense negotiation. I can say this from my experience with PRONACO effort and what we have seen regarding the recommendations of people. People who don't want to be part of Nigeria, if any, are in minority. But allow them to express themselves.
Yes.
Once you have the majority who are saying that, or Aneze is not saying they want to be part of, go. Afenifere that I belong to, it's not saying we want to go. They are saying that if we must live together, let's clearly define and spell out the terms.
Yes.
So when they say Nigeria is indissoluble, when the chiefs are done, if you don't do the right thing, there will be nobody to call it, to tell you, or nobody to ask whether we should stay together or not. But people who benefit from a union that is fair, that is just, that fulfills the wishes and aspirations of people, don't want to leave such union. People become centrifugal when aspirations are not met.
Yes.
When society becomes nasty, short and brutish.
Yes.
When security of life and property can no longer be guaranteed. And then you begin to say that unto thy tent, O Israel. But if you do the needful, Nigeria is better off staying together as one big, strong, virile nation, hinged, built, and founded upon principles of federalism, justice, progress, welfare of the people. Because if you say that it is better for us to remain one. In the interest of who? If Nigerian people are daily in want and they are suffering rather,
yes,
because of the way we are, then you can't tell people not to want to be disparate. A country that is big, that cannot produce for its citizens, that cannot ensure the well-being of its citizens, is useless. If you're big for nothing. Nigeria will do well. Population is a very strong advantage, provided it is not an illiterate population. If it's an illiterate population, it becomes an albatross.
Yeah.
If it's a population that can't work, that's not producing anything, a population that has a government always ambushing it, standing in its way, then there's a challenge. Therefore, these templates must change for Nigerian people to be very proud. That's why they are running away from referendum. Those people who have recycled themselves, who have been benefiting from Nigeria and they are still benefiting, are the ones that will say, no, Nigeria must not break. Nigerian people, yeah, they don't want Nigeria to break. But if breaking means that there will be good school, there will be hospital, there will be jobs, then you must have a rethink about your position regarding all of these issues.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adegbuyi, for coming on 60 Minutes with me.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, that's it for this week. Don't forget to like 60 Minutes with Angela on Facebook. Alternatively, you can follow me on Twitter, Angela at 60 Minutes. I'm Angela Adegbuyi. I thank you for the pleasure of your company.